Have you been enjoying Batman Hush 2? Well, you're about to get a whole lot more of it because this week, Batman number 160, Hush 2 Part 3, drops amongst a crop of books that is so good, so unbelievably good, that we can't talk about probably half of the books that we would want to be on the main show. If you look at the poll this week, there are some heavy, heavy hitters on that thing, and that is
Yep.
because this is a juggernaut week of comics, and we're here to talk about all of them right now on Pals Previews. And the way we're going to start is by letting you know the books that we will be reviewing this coming Thursday on Pals Polls at 6 p.m. Eastern. This is the docket that we have. Batman number 160, Absolute Wonder Woman number 8, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 3, Ultimate Spider-Man 17, and Giant Sized X-Men number 1. This is where we're getting the Miss Marvel insert into the X-Men history stuff. So, what do you think will be your pick of the week?
Not that. Probably Absolute Martian Manhunter. To be honest, if I know myself.
I'm in the same boat. If Absolute Martian Manhunter is on the docket for a week, probably gonna be my pick. It's only issue 3, so that sounds like I'm saying a lot, but issues 1 and 2 were. So statistically speaking, it seems like a sure bet. But this is Hayden Sherman back at on the Absolute, right? Isn't this another?
Yes.
Yeah. So could be cooking there too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Absolute books are really where my eyes are at this point.
I'm inclined to agree on Absolute Martian Manhunter. It has been phenomenal. The only book that's making me pause a little bit is Absolute Wonder Woman, actually, because I love a labyrinth, and I'm excited to see how Hayden draws that and how they're gonna do some unique panel layouts with that. That's gonna be amazing. But I am gonna stick with Martian Manhunter.
Are we getting a Minotaur?
Where there is a labyrinth, there does tend to be a minotaur, so it wouldn't
Oh,
surprise
my
me.
favorite mythical beast character archetype, the Minotaur. Ooh, that could sell
Natural
me.
habitat.
If I play D&D, I usually play as a Minotaur, actually.
Hmm.
That's true. When we played together, you did.
Yep. Yeah, I did. Yep. I invented pro wrestling in our D&D campaign.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So those are the books that we're thinking we're going to love based on what's on the docket. But those are not the only books we're going to be talking about on Pals Pulse because there is one more. And that's the one that you guys get to choose in the Pals Pulse poll, which is under the post tab on our YouTube channel. That's a lot of P's. The options are High Street number 6, which is at the bottom of the barrel. Shocking. Justice League Unlimited number 7, Mr. Terrific Year 1, and Daredevil Cold Day in Hell number 2. Those books are fighting it out right now for your vote. Those are the top 2. They're 1% apart.
Neck and neck. We need some alts getting voting. Either way. I mean, I know which way I want it to go, but
Uh,
Did you guys vote?
yeah, oh yeah.
yeah, I vote in every election, even the Palace poll. I voted for Mr. Terrific. I think it's more of an unknown for me. Like, I know I'll probably like Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. I like to be pleasantly surprised with new stuff. I got ADHD. I see the new shiny and I want to grab it, like a raccoon with coins. I just want to just check that out. Could like it, might not. Who knows? But I would like to at least read it, figure that out.
The 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 teases, the surprises in the back of the DC books this week were all Mr. Terrific Year 1, and they just didn't do much for me. So my pick is Daredevil Cold Day in Hell.
I went the same way. Unfortunately, I don't have much hope for the Mr. Terrific series based on what Cale just said. So I went with the known quantity of Daredevil.
Wow, where's the fair play involved? Jeez.
I'll give you that one.
I
I
think
like how
Marco's not here. That's where it is.
none of us are voting on the big event book that is happening at DC right now.
Want that too, to be honest.
That's what I was saying earlier. There's like 10 books. Any one of these books could be on the show.
Yeah.
Superman didn't even make it to the poll. Well, because he usually wins them. That's yeah.
Right. And like, make no mistake, I love all those books. Like, I would love for Superman to be on the pole of the main show. I just couldn't. This week is so massive. I couldn't figure out how to make it all work.
Yep.
And so we need your help. We need your help to figure out what the last book will be. And you can do that by voting in our poll, and you will find out the result Wednesday at 12 p.m. when Tyler closes it and then posts what the final docket is going to look like. And I think this is going to be a huge week for comics. I really do. Speaking of how big of a week it is, we're going to kick it on over to leagueofcomicgeeks.com and run down this week and talk to you about the books that we're excited about. Just kind of give you an idea of maybe what should be on your pull list this week.
I guess I'll just right off the bat talk about Superman 26. This is by Joshua Williamson. Art, a couple artists on this: Eddie Barrows, Eber Ferreira, Sean Isaacs. Colors by Alejandro Sanchez across the board. Letters by Ariana Mayer. I'm just really liking what Williamson's doing with the Superman run that's going on right now. This whole summer of Superman, and this is dealing with the shocking events of Superman 25. With like Lex Luthor coming back and the infection of Superman with a red kryptonite. We're really delving deep into the versions of kryptonite in DC right now. So much so that we're getting a Black Label book about it. So even though there's a lot of artists on the book, that usually is a turnoff for me, Williamson was working with that, at least thematically and narratively. That it makes sense. Yeah, I'm really liking the Superman run. Awesome cover, by the way.
DC seems to have been really smart recently in how they're using more artists on a book.
Finding breaks in story that actually make sense for the art. Yeah.
Well, and like New Gods, where it's
Sure.
baked into the story,
Yeah.
however it is.
Yeah, New Gods handled that brilliantly this week, I thought.
Yeah.
The visual aspect of it. And I agree. I think DC has found a way to make that work. And so now when I see multiple artists on a DC book, I don't look at it cross because I figure there's probably like either a good reason or they've found a good reason to make it happen. So I'm cool with that. I'm really, really excited as ever for what I say is one of the top 2 or 3 best comics, The Department of Truth. Number 30 is dropping this week. The question mark with this book is always, not from a quality standpoint, but from a story progression standpoint, is Martin Simmons on it? And if yes, you are going to get a new chapter in the core story. And this week, Martin Simmons is on it. That's the only thing I need to know when it comes to this book. I don't want to read a solicit. I don't want to know what's going to happen next. I just want to know, is Simmons drawing it? He is. I'm very excited.
I mean, look at that cover, Sean. If you're reading the book, you know that cover is important.
Absolutely.
I am loving Department of Truth. Eisner nominated now, right? Wasn't it for
Yes.
best ongoing?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is, if you're not reading this, you should. There is nothing like it. Not even like currently on the stands. Ever?
I've never read a book like this.
Yeah, it's really, really, really damn good.
I will talk about something that has happened before, and talk about Green Lantern number 23. I normally am not so hot on jumping in on the 23rd issue of a book, but the Spectre has come to give Hal Jordan his job back. The Spectre, I think, is looking for a new anchor form as the Spirit of Vengeance. In the middle of the Green Lanterns rebuilding the central power batteries and everything that the Green Lanterns are doing, and now Hal has to deal with this, and this is awesome. It's an aspect of my early comic book reading that I just found to be so cool. This dude died and then became the Spirit of Vengeance, and then he just went around haunting the DC universe for a while. And people would show up he was people something would happen and he would show up and people would be like, "Is that Hal Jordan?" And he'd disappear.
We just read JSA
Yes,
where that happens. Yeah.
and it ruled. It ruled. It was so good. Um, and then Green Lantern Rebirth happened, and he physically split himself from the Spectre, and it looks like it's come back to haunt him. I'm so here for this.
But like the idea of like your old boss saying like, "Hey, you want your old job back?" It's like when I walk into my local Apple store and I see my old boss there, and he's like, "Hey, would you ever come back?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't want to be the Spectre again. People hated me."
You gonna pay me more?
Well, I don't think Hal Jordan was getting paid for this role. To be fair, he didn't need to eat or breathe. So
Come
right next to it, if you don't mind, since we're here, I want to talk about Green Arrow number 24. Really stunning cover on this one. But what the crew on this one? This is Chris Condon and more. How do I pronounce
Montos?
it? Montos. I almost said Mortos, like the wrestler. This is a really interesting take on Oliver Queen. I believe this is the final issue of this freshwater killer arc. That is really taking the idea of like Oliver Queen is a superhero for the everyman, right? You know what he's also? A billionaire. How do you square those two in a modern context? And it's the fact that he was part of the board of directors for a company that made affordable housing for people that was on ground that should not have had housing, and the water was killing them. It was poisoning people, and these people years later have cancer. They've died. They have there's one kid who has seizures because of it. Those people now have become this collective and is murdering those CEOs. And how does he justify that? How does he fight against that? Because he's still working with the police too, and even the police are like they're complicit in some of this. It's a really nuanced take that is surprising for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I just caught up like yesterday on it, so it's really of mind, and I think it's a really, really, really harrowing story that they're doing.
How long has Chris Condon been on Green Arrow? Do you know?
I believe it's been 5 issues or so.
Since the start of All In.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is
Okay. Okay.
21. That might be 20. I'm finding out right now as I sort through this. But this is the only arc they've done.
Oh, okay. Great. 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 Great.
That book gets a lot of praise. I tried it out and it was really good. So worth your time. Speaking of Chris Condon, he's got what they're referring to as a graphic novella out this week, 48-page series book called The Goddamn Tragedy. This is an Oni Press title, and the description is pretty compelling to me. In these woods, fear everything, even each other. Uh, Chris Khan is going to be joined by Sean Kuruneru, and they're telling a story that, quote, comes a vicious and vengeful account of one of the Old West's darkest episodes from those that lived to tell it in a lavishly painted, entirely self-contained 48-page graphic novella. Ellen Jansen is here to set the record straight about the highly publicized, oft-sensationalized journey her family undertook in 1846. Ellen sets out with her mother, Irina, and her father, Leo, on a treacherous road west in search of a better life. But when her father chooses to split off from the party, taking an untested shortcut through the mountains, can their small family survive the elements, the wildlife, and each other? Or will their journey become nothing more than another goddamn tragedy?
Condon
Cool.
works well in that realm too. Huh.
That's his playground.
Oni's been doing stuff lately with creator owned. I see more and more that are like, oh, interesting. Than I'm used to. Yeah, cool. This is interesting to me.
Love Chris Condon. I've got another
I
one.
lost.
This book has been such a breath of fresh air. We're taking everyone down with us. Number 3 is dropping this week. It's got a super long title. which probably isn't doing it any favors. But in terms of quality, this is one of the better new indie titles dropping this year. Essentially, it's about a genius guy who has a daughter and a lot of enemies, and those enemies have come for him, and he dies. But his daughter and the robots are going to take everyone down with them. That's it.
Good. At least the title tells you what the book's about.
Yeah.
Right next to it on the list, Metamorpho the Element Man, number 6, Al Ewing, Steve Lieber. This is the finale of this short-lived run, and I've talked about it a couple times. I think we at least talked about the first issue on Pals Pulse. But it's hokey as hell. This is dumb, but dumb fun. I think Al Ewing has a real knack for this classic storytelling, almost in the vein of like a weird Super Friends style feel to it. It feels of the time, being like when this book would have originally come out, but also modernized. And Steve Lieber is such a king at comedy and comics, art wise. He knows how to just hit a person's expression right in the moment where it's extra funny. This is great. I think if you want something fun and a little nerdy, it's Metamorpho. He's doing like weird solutions to science problems that Al gets to nerd out on and kind of have Steve portray in a weird way. It's this book. It's a lot of fun.
Can I just say, it's canceled as you pointed out, and it's so strange because when you know how uh, retailers have to pre-order books, they're pre-ordering books sometimes 2 and 3 issues deep. So, you have to pre-order 1 and 2 and potentially 3 all within a very short frame of time. So my question is, when did they figure out that this was being canceled? Because this is 6.
Mm.
So like at
Yeah.
what point did they figure that out? And it has an ending. Al talked about it. Like it ends. So how do they know?
I got to assume Al had an ending in mind that he could slot in at any point, because a lot of this book has been almost one and dones. It's very classic in that way. So I can see him just like, oh yeah, this would have been the end anyway. Let me just take the threads I had on my end pitch and just tie them to where it is in the story right now. So I can see that, but I could also see a Metamorpho book by issue 3 just being like, oh, that's not sound good, and then being canceled.
Maybe it sold way, way worse than they expected.
Yeah.
Which can't imagine they expected much from it.
Speaking of never being able to have nice things, Assorted Crisis Events number 3 is coming out this week. And listen, it was almost going to be on the show, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Crisis on Hearth 2. When their Earth is destroyed in a fire, residents of the small town Hearth escape into a near identical neighboring universe. Do the residents of this surviving Hearth accept their unlucky alternate reality doubles, or do they abandon them? This book rules.
This book feels like what Asteroid City is to like Superman and superheroes. This is Asteroid City for the multiverse and crisis events. It's an extension of that. Yeah, issue 2 was wild. It's really gory and gross. So yeah, issue 3 could be fun. This almost sounds like that Asteroid City story you like, Cale.
The Nearness of You. Yeah. That's I thought that as well. Yeah, especially because the cover is like it looks like a guy and his partner, or maybe his wife, looking through a door where it looks like they're out in a park on a picnic. Yeah, I had that exact same thought. That's Dennis Camp and Eric Zawadsky, with Jordi Belair and Hassan Asman Al-How on that book.
Book's fucking great. It really is. Issue 2 was insane. My last shout out is probably the one that I'm most excited about. It definitely is, and that's Mega Man Timelines number 1. So we're getting 5 one
Count 'em.
shots, 5 one shots that are going to be like different versions, different iterations of Mega Man. For those of you who are, core fans, you've heard of Mega Man X, Mega Man ZX, Mega Man Legends, all that jazz. And the free comic book day issue that we got was unbelievable. So my hope is that they can continue that level of quality throughout these books. I've never given Mega Man a chance in comics before, so I really hope I don't get let down because I don't love anything more than Mega Man. Mega Man is it to me. So Tavis Maiden on the words, Kenny Ruiz on the art. Don't let me down. Deliver with the Blue Bomber.
And this is the Mega Man I'm familiar with. Like this is my knowledge of Mega Man is the first game, and like his appearances in like the Marvel versus games. And even like the cover is great. It reminds me of like the Boss Luck screen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think Cutman's on there. Or is Rockman on there? Yeah. That's I'll check this out. This might be one of those quick takes at the end of the show for all you know. Who knows?
Dude, that's how I can beat the allegations that I stack the show with the books that I want to talk about.
Because this is
Because
an
I would do anything to talk about this on this show. But it'll be good.
I'll talk about a book that some listeners have shouted out actually. And that is Eddie Brock Carnage, numero 4. This is a new arc. It is there. The artist on it is Juan and Ramirez taking over for a little bit. And the premise of the book is that the Carnage symbiote is now attached to Eddie Brock after some weird shenanigans during Venom War or something like that. Eddie is kind of reformed. He wants to do good. But with the Carnage symbiote, that thing thirsts for blood.
But Carnage is not.
Yeah, Carnage ain't good. So how does this relationship work? Well, Eddie decides, why don't I just kill serial killers? So this book is Marvel Dexter, which kind of a smart way to go about it. It's a little compelling. The first one, he went against Bushwhacker, I believe, which is like a Punisher villain. But this one deals with Muse from the Charles Soule Daredevil, and like the whole thing is like. At the end of the last issue, it's like, and Muse is back from the dead somehow. It's so comic booky. Even the solicit says, a revival to die for. Eddie and Carnage travel to the Windy City following a tip that the notorious serial killer Muse has returned from the dead to continue his work. What do you mean returned from the dead? Because I had like no powers, like, or he might have been an Inhuman or something like that. It's dumb, it's stupid, but it's kind of fun. It's the dark passenger, isn't that what Dexter called himself?
Yeah.
Like the urge to kill in the background.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun little way of playing with the premise. How he's an Avenger, Sam Humphrey's got to tell me that later on. But this book is fun.
My last one is gonna be Star Trek Lore War: Shax's Worst Day, number 1. It's a one shot.
Lower Decks.
Oh yeah. Guess what? You're not gonna believe this. Hot creative team Ryan North and Derek Charm on this one.
Wow, they got Ryan North.
Well,
Derek
Ryan
Charm.
North has been doing I think he's been doing the Lower Decks books, and he's got long Star Trek history. But he and Derek Charm did Jughead together during the Archie relaunch. And it was absolutely phenomenal.
That was a good book. Yeah. Derek Charm's great.
Derek Charm is tremendous. So I am hyped about this. Recently, Shax had his best day ever, but now that the universe has been rewritten by the mad android lore, he's going to have his worst. Starfleet has been distorted into a machinery of oppression antithetical to everything it once stood for, and Shax has been made into the one thing he despises most, a fascist.
You know those Bajorans hate that. Are Bajorans the coolest Star Trek race?
Great question. Yes?
You're a Deep Space Nine guy.
You know what? They're probably the one I relate the most to growing up religious.
Yeah, Vulcans are interesting. So are Klingons, Cardassians.
It ain't gonna be
They're
Cardassians.
aliens?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Cardassians? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said the Kardashians. I was like, oh shit, that makes a lot of
Keeping up with the
sense.
Cardassians. Yeah.
Kim's ass looked otherworldly. I was like, okay, I buy it.
It has its own orbit.
Yes. That sounds exciting.
That's a fun team for this book, actually, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also an interesting way to square the fact that Lower Decks is part of continuity.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the goofy cartoon, it does exist in the world of lore and the world of the lore war, which has Cisco happening, being a godlike character in it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean, do you know anything about Deep Space Nine and the Bajorans and Cardassians?
I watched a little bit of Deep Space Nine, but not enough to be able to speak about it.
So the
you like it?
Bajorans are sort of this quiet farming sort of religious people who, just want to be left alone on their planet, but they got turned into like wartime rebels because they were invaded by this race called the Cardassians, who are just straight up fascists.
And they all have huge asses.
All of them.
Yep.
The giant badonkadonks, BBLs, etc. And Shax is in Lower Decks. He's like security. He's like Worf for their ship, and he's just this really big tough guy that is allowed to get emotional every now and then, but he's got a great big mustache and scars on his face, so you never see it coming. And so for him to become a fascist in this lore universe is great.
And he's voiced by Fred Tatasciore, or I don't know how you're pronouncing that correctly, but notoriously the voice of Wolverine in a lot of things.
Okay.
Oh.
He is a prominent voice actor that we'd probably recognize in a lot of stuff.
And according to this, they won, or rather were nominated for an Eisner and a Ringo for the first iteration of this, the best day. So that's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
the Lower Decks books have been very good.
Sorry, not Wolverine. Hulk. He's done a lot of Hulk voiceover.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and Rivals actually. He's Hulk.
And just to give a quick endorsement, Sherb in the comments on League of Comics Geeks for this page says this cover is funny. So
Thanks, Sherb. Love classic Sherb. That's a classic Sherb move.
yeah,
Appreciate you, Sherb.
He'll,
Tyler,
never,
did you
he'll
have any more
never
shout-outs?
know he got shouted out on a comic podcast.
Absolutely not. Other than Sherb, did you have any more shout outs?
No.
All right, very good. So that is going to do it for us on Pals Previews. Make sure that you tune in to hear our thoughts about all of the books that we told you will be on the docket for Thursday's episode of Pals Pulls. We are very excited for that. Hopefully you are too. Leave it in the comments if you think we missed anything. If there are books that you're reading that you want to shout out. I can imagine that's the case because there are so many tremendous books on this list today for this week. We hope you have a great week reading comics and listening to the Comics Pals. Thank you so much, and we will see you throughout the week.
Cale, you want to do your bit?
no, he got it. He walked all over it. It's great.
Sorry,
I'm leaving this part in.
I started it now where I had the wound up, and then he just kept going. I went, all right,
I wasn't looking at the Zoom, so
It's fine. I'm going to leave this in. This is fun. Okay.
fine.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Great.